All right, welcome back. And another sign that things are getting tight out there, especially for the middle class. A total of 249,152 individual Chapter 7 bankruptcy filings were made in the first 9 months of this year in the United States. So that's a 15% jump compared to last year, the first 9 months of last year. So what are we saying about that? Well, I thought that stocks were hitting an all-time record high. Can we possibly be having that many bankruptcies? Doesn't really make sense. This sharp rise highlights mounting financial pressure on households. Michael Hunter, Vice President of Bankruptcy Data Provider Epic Acer, said in an ABI statement. Well, my next guest, he's in the middle of all these things, and I'm sure he has to solve a lot of these problems himself, and maybe he can tell us what the difference is between a Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 filing. So please welcome to the show, Mr. Craig Bolanos. Craig, not good to see those filings skyrocket like that, and nobody wants to. It's really kind of a sad story, but we have to make everybody aware that that looks like what we're telling me is that even though we got stocks at all-time record highs and there's a lot of good news out there, it's not really trickling down to the man on the street.
Now, let's be realistic. In fancy Wall Street talk, the credit spreads are still okay, maybe a bit wider in some areas than we want. But for the average man and average woman on the street, the latest data is supporting of the fact that this low higher, slow fire, which is turning into no higher, low fire environment, is putting stress on the most fragile of consumers. I mean, we're seeing the delinquencies rise, and when the delinquencies rise, the bankruptcies come with it, whether it be Chapter 7 or Chapter 13 for individuals.
And can you, this just for the viewer, what's the main differences between the two of those Chapter 7 and 13 filings?
Well, I'm not going to name them, but if anybody watches late night TV, you can't help but see the various attorneys talk to you about filing for Chapter 7, about how quick and easy and low cost it is. Quick and easy, low cost, sure, all those things are true, but Chapter 7 is full on liquidation. It's like hitting the do-over button, and when you're hitting the do-over button, liquidation means you're liquidating properties, you're liquidating assets, and that Chapter 7 bankruptcy is going to roll with you for 10 years. Chapter 11, you can do that personally, but that's really reserved for businesses. It's much more of a reorganization. Chapter 13 is the reorganization for individuals. It's someone who still has income, someone who needs some creditor protection so their assets aren't seized and can get really serious about telling their money where to go. That's debt service over a 3 to 5 year period. Takes a lot longer, costs more because it's all about negotiation. But just think, Scott, Chapter 7, liquidation, 10 years. Chapter 13, reorganization, typically 7 years.
Well, I mean, that makes me feel even worse because if you're hitting the reset button with Chapter 7, and I just said over 249,000 people did the first 9 months of this year, that's pretty serious.
Well, I think it's indicative of the great divide. I mean, everybody knows that, especially in America, this divide of wealth is larger than it's been at any point in time. And those who are struggling, whether it was, high inflation, high interest rates, now the jobless toll, you name it, they're most impacted. And I also think to a certain degree, the changes in OBA, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, are designed to starve some of that off when we talk about overtime, tip income, etc. So this is the intersection of legislation right now with reality at 123 Main Street.
I'm going to have to ask permission to ask a stupid question because I should know the answer, but I don't. But I mean, when I am looking to retire, how do those things impact my retirement, if at all?
I would say no, because if you want to get retired and stay retired, then Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 aren't even going to be a part of your vocabulary. But if you are an investor, which is a part of retirement, because we all need to secure ourselves, then I think people are already looking at some of the smaller regional banks, some of the credit card issuers, none of which I'm going to name, that would be at most risk for delinquencies if we continue to see a rise in that unemployment rate from the 4.3 to the 4.5% I think we could get to as quickly as the end of the year. And you got to worry about some of those charge-offs. So I think for investors out there who happen to be retirees, take a look under the hood of your portfolio and understand your potential exposure if you see a cascading effect of that low-end consumer finally throwing in throwing in the towel and hitting the do-over button like Chapter 7.
All right, so it's a tale of two cities here, and I don't mean that too flippantly, but it seems like I'm getting told all the time that we've got an all-time record high stock market. We've got 3.8% GDP growth, which was knocked it out of the park. A 4.3%, like you just mentioned, unemployment rate. There seems to be a lot of good out there, but at the same time, it's not like, again, it's not reaching middle America, because if that is all happening and we still have almost 250,000 people file for bankruptcy, Chapter 7, the rough one, in the first 9 months, that doesn't add up if you ask me.
Well, no, I mean, listen, it's in the data, it's here. I am not throwing up a big caution sign. I think this segment that we're doing is so impactful because, one, it creates awareness to the tale of two cities. I would even argue the tale of two tapes, the bond market versus the equity market. It's likewise the tale
Good
of two
point.
consumers. You've seen the tale of two consumers this entire year. I mean, look at the Dollar Generals of the world, look at the Dollar Trees of the world, take a look at Walmart, take a look at Costco. I mean, the story is here. We're just finally starting to see what people long suspected show up in the data. So to everybody watching right now, they say, what are they going to do about it? Simple. I got news. Rebalance your portfolio, everybody. Don't get caught because trees don't grow to the sky and a dollar in hand is still worth two on paper. That doesn't mean sell, but that means if you're a long investor, which is where you should be still, by the way, if you want to create and grow wealth, you got to have a disciplined, systematic, repeatable approach to reduce risk by forcing you to carve off some profits. And that's what I think people should do going into the seasonality. I hope we get the Santa Claus rally. I think it's going to happen, but given September wasn't weak, we might have pulled some of October's gains into September, and that's why I think people shouldn't be surprised the market's even off after 8 straight days of rally today.
All right, and you know what? The markets are allowed to go down every now and again. Everybody, it doesn't have to set all-time record highs every single day. But it's funny how the media takes a look at it, like, oh my gosh. Anyway, Craig, awesome to have you on. You're a great point of view on some stuff for the individual investor. We really like you, love you, and we've got a lot of people here. You're a big fan. Thank you very much for coming on. There are a lot of big fans of yours. Thanks for coming on. See you again next week. Craig Bolanos, he's the co-founder, wealth manager of VestGen Wealth Managers up in Chicago. All right.